In this episode of the Wild Party Podcast, I'm thrilled to welcome Carol Mehas, the founder of arbOUR, a natural, non-toxic vegan cleaning brand that's redefining what it means to clean sustainably. With an impressive background in the beauty industry, Carol made the bold leap from corporate life to entrepreneurship. She joins me for a candid and inspiring conversation about how she's blending science, safety, and style into everyday cleaning routines. We talk about her mission to make effective, planet-friendly cleaning products accessible to everyone, plus how music and playlist can turn cleaning into a vibe. You'll love this episode if you're curious about conscious consumerism or just want to vibe out on what makes a product safe and powerful. Let's get the party started. Welcome to the Wild Party Podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. And today I'd like to welcome to the show Carol Mehas, the founder of arbOUR, a natural cleaning brand featuring products that are vegan, non-toxic, and biodegradable. Now, with a background in consumer products and a deep passion for sustainability, Carol launched arbOUR to challenge the status quo of the cleaning industry. Welcome to the show, Carol.
Thanks, Stephanie, for having me. I'm a big fan of everything sustainable, so thanks for all you do.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I was really excited when I got introduced to your brand because cleaning products have been a pain point for me. First of all, I am one of those people that is super sensitive to smell, right? And what do
Yes.
we know about mainstream cleaning products that we see on everyday shelves? They load them with fragrances, right? Because that
Right.
fragrance lets you know it's AKA
Yes.
clean, right?
Clean. Right. It's amazing how the consumers have been programmed to smell clean, what smells clean, and even what looks clean. The blue dyes and the color even of the products being, blue or green or smelling, quote, clean, whatever that smells like. When really, something like a cotton or a summer fresh is really just a made up osmotic fragrance that's made of chemicals. It's very hard to get essential oils to fragrance products is very expensive. And sometimes, with any kind of chemistry, oils always, mix up a little bit. And even organic oils are really hard to go by because you never know what you're going to get with each harvest. So it's much easier to manufacture fragrances, synthetic fragrances, dyes, and things that give the consumer the feeling of clean, even if what's left on their surface or their window or what have you is really not clean. So that's a big challenge for today's marketplace.
Exactly. And you've really spent your career proving that eco-friendly products don't have to just be better for the planet. They can actually be high performing, beautiful, and accessible, which is so important because, we're still have that challenge thinking if it's a natural product, it just doesn't work as well. So we're going to get into all that. But first, let's start a little bit back because before you launched your own brand, your own product line, you were actually in the corporate world working for some really big names.
Oh, yes. I grew up in the beauty business, they say, and worked for the big ones. Everyone from Estee Lauder, L'Oreal. I was at Sephora when they had about 8 stores in this country. Crazy to think about that now, but really seeing it all gives you an amazing perspective on what customers are really shopping for. I always feel that customers really decide with their pocketbook. So no matter how much marketing you put behind it, no matter how pretty your model and your bottle is, we always say, it's hard to sell something that consumers just don't really want. And that's, sort of a tried and true marketing problem for all consumer goods companies. That's why they test things kind of to death. They always have these, focus groups and, 80% of people liked this one. So the more interesting maybe even less economical things don't ever really make it to market. There's some amazing R&D happening in these large corporations. It just never makes it, to the consumer because they sort of go to the 80/20 rule. And if I could sell to 80% of the population, then that's the product we put out versus the 20% that might need it. Maybe someone who's pregnant or has an allergy or, these kinds of things. And then they sort of put everyone else in a corner, anti-aging or young skin or, something. But really, anyone from the age of 25 to the age of 95 needs some anti-aging products, it's sort of. So it's all really a lot of marketing ease. And some of the R&D is very well intended by these large corporations. It's not that. It's just that, they're very secure. That they're putting out products that are safe and somewhat effective. There could be products that are a little more effective, but they're not safe enough for everyone to just use without, like a doctor's prescription or directions or something like that. So growing up in that world, it really made me realize that consumers are wiser, they're smarter, they're able to look up ingredients on their own, with the advent of the web and everything. And of course, when I started out, I'm a little bit older, there was no Instagram or TikTok or anything like that. So it was sort of, very a one-sided conversation. People telling the customers, you need this. This is for all skin types or oily skin types or whatever. There was one look. It was very matte, and then it was very glowy, and then whatever was on the runway. Where now people really get their information from their friends, from testimonials. They can buy things, find things on everything from Amazon all the way up to, a cosmetic doctor's office, in terms of the beauty industry. Um, and obviously that's trickled over to every industry. And that's actually sort of how I ended up here with these cleaning products. And that's a long story, which I love to tell you. But one of the things I just wanted to point out was in sort of towards the, I'll call it sort of the end of my beauty uh, career, although I'm still in it a lot. I had three children, and some things were changing in the marketplace, and it was really the idea that the consumer had much more knowledge than they used to have, and that was changing. Every year it gets even more so where the consumers are almost dictating, what should be brought to market versus the other way around. And that was a big, big change in the last probably 15 years. And in the beauty world, that really equated to these dermatological or professional products, whether you were just talking about makeup, the advent of makeup artist brands, what the products they were using behind the scenes on the runway, these kind of products became much more popular because they were more authentic. This was really what people were mixing up and making. They weren't really what you could find on your drugstore or department store shelves. The same with skincare or hair care. You have, the wonderful Frederic Fekkai or these people, that are famous makeup artists or dermatologists coming up with their own products because they couldn't find what their patients needed, what their consumers needed. So sort of this idea of pro to retail was really ingrained in my mind that, finding the next maybe doctor brand or professional brand that really did deliver and customers were hooked. After that, it was much harder to find brands credible that were just speaking to everybody. You wanted something that was super credible.
Well, you are just a wealth of knowledge with this entire industry, not just, the beauty line, but just, how marketing works and how consumerism works. And that's amazing because we talk to so many of the entrepreneur set that are really just starting from their kitchen. They don't really have a background. They don't know how to start. So you were actually starting at a much higher level, which I find fascinating. And I also find amazing because you knew the challenges going into this of
Yes.
what it would be like to launch a product line in a very crowded product market space, right? So tell me a little bit about, what that looked like in your mind that you were in the corporate world and then you decide, hey, I'm going to leave that behind me and I'm going to launch this cleaning line. of natural, vegan, cruelty-free products, which thank you, by the way, I am a lifestyle vegan.
Yes.
What did that look like for you? Like, how did you decide, like, I'm going to launch this product line? Because you already knew the hurdles. So I'm kind of amazed that you
Right.
even went
Yes.
for it.
Exactly. And oddly enough, it was a move that did it for me. I left we had a family change and we moved to Ohio, a little bit before COVID. And I think if I was on the East Coast or the West Coast, Miami, Boston, there's some amazing markets. And once you've been living in large cities for your whole life, you really think that everyone sort of sees the world and has all the choices that we have. And I think some of the magic for me was really created when our family moved to Ohio, which is wonderful. We loved Ohio; it's amazing, and there's lots and lots of very intelligent, amazing people living in the middle of this country, for example, or in any country, frankly, that don't always get all their information and products and things from just the loudest city dwellers, for example. So knowing that I was I was not in the cosmetic world because we had moved. Fell upon a friend who was working towards getting products into the schools for cleaning during COVID. So it's kind of a random thing. She's a women-owned business, and she came across this product that they asked her to produce to clean the school systems. That was safe for kids, safe for the teachers, and that was still antimicrobial and could kill everything from, all the bacteria that exist in a school system. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, well, I'd like that for my own home. So here we are. So we have a commercial product or a professional product. And I was like, but I want it for my home use. Why can't we make a brand around that, and sell it in our own homes? We all wanted it. It was almost like a mom thing. And so we had my mother-in-law was elderly, living with us. We have two dogs, even plants. There's things you can kill with these awful chemicals that people are using in their house. And so everyone wanted to be clean during this pandemic area, but nobody was thinking about what that does to your own health in terms of your respiratory, in terms of your pets, in terms of your plants, in terms of the biodegradability, and also just healthy for children to use, or people with sensitive skins, or elderly, or all kinds of people. And with this product, definitely does that. So we created a brand around it, in the idea that you can have professional cleaning products that actually kill bacteria and neutralize all of these germs that you don't want around in your home, let alone in your schools or public environments. Why couldn't you use them at home if they were safe? And that's really the idea of the brand. The arbOUR actually came about because one of the main ingredients in our main product, the everyday spray, is actually from soap bark from a tree. So that's kind of how it was, how arbOUR came about. Basically, the everyday spray that we have is made up of only 4 ingredients. That's it. So it's lemongrass oil, citric acid, stearic acid, and this thing called soap bark. So soap bark has been used for centuries. It's so cool. They actually scrape the bark off the tree, scrape it off the tree.
What kind of tree?
It's a Quinala saponin tree, which is basically a very large elm tree that's mostly on the West Coast, up in Seattle area in Canada and down in South America. They don't kill the tree. They just take the bark off it, and then the bark regenerates itself. So you're not killing the tree. And the soap bark actually is either ground down or boiled down. It's been used for centuries by all kinds of native populations across both South America and North America for its cleaning purposes and antibacterial purposes. It's actually used as in the food industry, in all kinds of industries, and it's renewable, which is amazing. But what it really does is actually creates a barrier to the surface and the ingredients that it's delivering, lifting it up off of the surface and getting the dirt and grime up off the surface. It's all just chemistry, really, when you think about, bacteria, they're cells, and you put another element or something on top of that, and it breaks apart the bacterial cell and neutralizes it. That's the whole idea of cleaning in general. However, this technology is based around this soap bark technology, which is biodegradable, it's renewable, and it works. And it's antimicrobial, which is really important. And antimicrobial actually cleans the surface so much that more harmful bacteria can't grow on the surface. And antibacterial, which is helpful, it kills the bacteria that's there, but in 5 minutes, another one's just going to grow there. So that's great. You have these anti-bac products, but you need antimicrobial products. That's why, like, if you go to a hospital, they're using products like Microban. These products are antimicrobial, not antibacterial. And there's a big difference. You want an antimicrobial product because that product will keep more germs, odors, and things from growing back. And that's exactly what this product does. And it's safe.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I did not know that differentiation at all. I was very much like, kind of like, oh, it's just some germy thing
Yeah.
either way. Because when you mentioned COVID, we started seeing a lot of stuff around public spaces where they would have signs, this has been treated with an antimicrobial. Or if you got
Mhm.
into elevators, suddenly had these little silicone disc over all the buttons. And I
Right.
was always like, what does that even do? Because then your fingers are just touching it and aren't they just
Yeah.
getting dirty again?
Right.
And the point of this is for me is we don't understand how the world works anymore. We
No.
have become so trained as people and consumers to walk into a big box grocery store, buy something on a shelf that we just trust because they're like, well, somebody created it in a
Right.
lab or something, so I guess it works. But we don't understand what the product is. We don't understand how it works, and we buy it kind of blindly. So,
Exactly.
there was a backlash a couple of years, not a couple of years ago, I guess probably 15 years ago at this point, the backlash over the antibacterial hand soap. Do you remember that? Like
Yes.
all of
Yeah.
a sudden, we had all these antibacterial hand soaps, and then we started saying, look, we are killing too much bacteria here. You need some. And people, when became aware of like, well, you actually have microbes that live on your body and healthy bacteria, people freaked out. They're like, I have bacteria on my body. It's like, yes, it's called
Yes,
a
you
healthy,
do.
what is it, bio home or whatever. You need,
Exactly. A biome. Yes. A
yeah, in
healthy
your body and on
microbiome
your
is called.
body.
Exactly.
Which
Exactly.
is why, honestly, when I'm outside with my dog and he eats something from the street, I don't freak out like some people. I'm like,
No.
look, his body is built to, designed to
Right.
handle whatever oddness he's picking up. Obviously, he can't eat garbage on a regular basis, but if he picks up a apple core here and there, I don't freak out like, oh my God, my dog's gonna die. Like I've seen other people. I'm like, no, he's set up for that. Same thing as humans. So I'm glad
Yes.
that like that came into all of your research and planning because I think we knock our bodies out of whack a lot by
Yes.
trying to do too much good for it. So, with that
Exactly.
said, like with your background, again, with the corporate world, you knew how things worked. When you decided to launch your product line, where was the first place you went to start creating your products? Did you already know chemists, or how did you start that outreach? Or are you one of the women who started cooking stuff up on their pot in their kitchen?
Exactly.
Because we're all kitchen
Well,
witches.
fortunately or unfortunately, we had a chemist that had this formula. The trick is the formula was already being used in uh, corporate settings. As a matter of fact, it came from the farming industry. They used this product for sort of like cattle and pig farms and things like that. Oftentimes, they get feed from unknown sources or even overseas, and they're feeding their cattle on these big kind of conveyor belts. And what they were doing is they would take this product and spray down, like, with a sprayer, the surfaces for, let's say, the water bins that these animals were drinking out of, as well as the uh, feed lines, feed buckets. They spray their stalls. They spray where you walk in these equine and farming facilities. So they found that in the agricultural world, it was doing no harm to the animals. Most importantly, it also has a runoff into the agricultural farms around that was neutral. So a neutral pH is another really interesting thing that when we talk about cleaning products and what goes into our water waste system, whether it is a laundry detergent, a dishwasher detergent, a dishwashing detergent, I should say, even hand soap. What comes out of that is something this is basic chemistry, too acidic or too basic. Pretty much That's just science. But the Mother Earth, if you can imagine even putting something in your own body that's too acidic or too basic, it's not good. You want to just, yeah. And the Earth is like that too. So be nice to her. So we say that if something is biodegradable, it means that it's the most neutral of a pH that you can get. So it's not too alarming on either side of the pH scale. And the Mother Earth is able to sort of digest it without harming the things that she's trying to produce. She's working hard already, trying to produce the seeds and our food sources. So why make it harder for her? And that's another thing that people don't think of with sustainability. Oftentimes it's the actual product, being organic or this kind of thing. But what happens afterwards? We're humans, we make a lot of waste, and we want to make sure that what goes down into our earth is also sustainable. And that pH balance is really, really important, especially with laundry detergents and things that are, just really flushing into our water systems. And that's probably, one of the biggest takeaways that I really learned much more about is the biodegradability of these products, or not, depending on who you're buying them from. So,
Oh, this is so cool. I feel like I'm getting an entire science lesson here. I didn't even expect all this, and I'm learning so much. Thank you. Because again, I didn't even understand that about biodegradable. Okay, so I will say I am a marketer. I do get very excited about certain terms like, oh, sustainability, biodegradable. But do
yeah,
I honestly always understand them? No, I'm just going to
no,
say that. But I figure at least we're going in the right direction.
yeah.
So I'm glad you just pointed out it's like, yes, could be the right direction, also could be not so right direction. So there is a balance there, like you said, of these different levels that really needs to be maintained. So then with your products, you started like with this one overall cleaning spray. How
Yes.
did you end up then expanding the line, and then what did that look like? And did you do like I don't know, human testing at first?
So,
You're like,
yes,
hey, try
yes
this
and
out.
no.
Do
Try
you
this
like it?
out. Yes, it's kind of a little bit of, I call it grandmother research. Oftentimes if you ask 10 people, especially if they're good friends, they will tell you the truth. So I felt like, well, if I had this product around my house that, really is safe for all surfaces, fabrics, and this sort of thing, that's great. But what about my laundry? What about this? What about that? And lo and behold, there are lots of products that are being used in today's world that meet whether you like it or not, a lot of standards from the FDA and from the government in different states, like especially California or some of the West Coast states are a little more advanced with their regulations. So there's only so many products that you could use, for example, to kill weeds on a highway or to, do laundry for a hospital or something like that, because they're very strict about what goes into their water systems. So I thought, well, if they can get their white sheets clean, what about me? Why can't I get my baseball uniform clean when my son comes home? This kind of thing. And how many other professional products are out there that are safe, biodegradable, or safe for the people, pets, and planet, as we like to say here at arbOUR, that we don't have access to because we're regular consumers and we're being maybe boxed out by, the big retailers or, big producers. So we kept looking for some formulas. Some formulas existed, some we made on our own. And, we kind of somewhat stumbled upon them. But once you get talking to certain chemists, they've got, oh, I've got this product and that product I've been working on. I'm like, I'll take that one too. I'll take that one too. So one of our best-selling products are our laundry products. We have an activewear detergent that is based off of major sports teams, like that they use for all the national leagues and NFL and all these kinds of leagues. How do they get those uniforms clean? Because they're synthetic, and I was like, well, that's great because I just bought, some stuff at Lululemon that cost a lot of money, and I want to make sure I'm cleaning it right. So we spend all this money on these athleisure clothes to wear even. Are we cleaning them correctly even? So I almost thought of it more as a need than as a biodegradability or sustainable conversation. I was thinking there's got to be a gentler product to use on these expensive synthetic materials that my kids have in their sports as well. And so we found some products that are basically being used for sports teams and started using them at home. And sure enough, they get out grass stains, ketchup, coffee, all kinds of really great things. And it all lies really in the technology. It's basically a new technology. It's water thin technology, we call it. And it goes in between the fabrics of the tightly knit fabrics or synthetic fabrics. Oftentimes our detergents are gels or even those pods. They like land right on top of one piece or one section of your clothes, and if they're blue, they could actually leave a dye stain on it. How is that going to get through a tightly knit, pair of leggings? It's not going to happen. It's just not. So our product basically is water thin, so it goes through the fabrics and it attracts the pet dander and dust and mites and anything that's in there. It pulls it out, and then of course at pH neutral, rinses it down into the system, our water system. And so our laundry products have really, really taken off for us. We have a great stain remover, our athletic wear detergent, and then we also have a free and clear detergent for allergy sufferers. It's great for households with asthma or small babies or children. Again, it's pH balance, and it's the water thin technology to make sure that you're getting even the littlest dust mites and oils and greases from between the fabrics of the baby blankets and things. So
Well, you are speaking my language. First of all, I'm a girl that loves doing laundry. I inherited this trait from my mother. It's very meditative, I find, very therapeutic. Like, I will just
yes,
sit there and do laundry all day if I have to.
yes,
I mean,
yep,
in the past, I will let you know, I used to do laundry for my boyfriends because I just like doing it, right?
mhm,
Okay.
yes,
So, with that said, I totally understand also when you're talking about these deep stains and pet issues, pet dander and things like that. Because first of all, I'm a runner. So all of my white running clothes are like yellow at this point. So I do need to try your product because I
definitely.
would be very interested to see if we could revive some of my running clothes. Because
Mhm.
like you said, very expensive to buy. And then I sit there and I look and I'm like, oh, they're kind of funky looking. Am I really going to wear it? Right?
Exactly. And even smelling, you want to make sure you remove those smells, not just cover them up with that great fragrance that we talked about at the beginning. You're just fragrancing and layering, almost trapping the dirt and stuff inside the fabric. It's terrible. I don't know what we're thinking.
Yeah, let's talk about that fragrance issue. So, a lot of the products that again are in, mainstream big box stores, heavy, heavy fragrances. And in the cleaning industry, we jumped on the lavender trend and can't seem to get off it. I mean, there are some products out there that are so overpowering,
Yes.
like I can't even be around them. Like a couple of years ago, I was at a point in my own business where I was so busy, I didn't have time to clean my home at all. So I started hiring a cleaning service, which at first I was like, this will be great. And I actually I didn't last with them very long because the products they were using was some lavender line that was ungodly overwhelming.
Right.
And and at first I even said, "Hey, maybe use some less products. It smells pretty, pretty overwhelming when I come home." And they're like, "Okay." And again, a couple more times I'm like, "This is whatever you're using, I can't tolerate."
Right.
So take us through then what you do to choose your fragrances and how you then infuse them in your products to where, it becomes part of like pleasurable but not overwhelming and actually, services a need and not just cover something up.
Right, right. Well, lo and behold, most of our products that have the soap bark in it are literally fragrance free, but they smell clean because we use citric acids and lemongrass seed oils and things of that nature. Some are organic and some are not, but the idea that natural oils have a beautiful smell that don't need to be interrupted is a little bit of a novelty way of thinking. So we wanted to make sure that they smelled clean before we even thought about having to fragrance them, if that makes any sense. We sort of said, we started from the bottom and said, we know it has to have citric acid, for example, so it's going to smell naturally lemony or orangey, this kind of idea without having to fragrance it. And I think what the problem is people's idea of lavender isn't really what lavender even is. If you go to smell it in the wilderness, it doesn't even smell like that. It's like so synthetic now. We think that's actually lavender. It's not. So you have to be careful because what what maybe a lot of consumer goods products companies will do, and I've been there, I know, they add kind of this little top note at the very end that it flashes off, but it's like that immediate kind of powdery smell, that smells like a flower or of cedar or whatever it is, but it doesn't last because it's just an alcohol base. And I mean, that's even worse. Not to mention these synthetic fragrances also can really hurt the surfaces that you're trying to clean. If you're trying to clean wood or you're trying to clean, a beautiful marble or something like that in your bathroom, you just spend all this money tiling your bathroom. Why would you want to put alcohol on it? Doesn't make any sense. So, I think you also have to think about what it is you are cleaning to make sure that the fragrance isn't just getting in the way of it working and getting used to low level, sort of natural scents that just smell clean or smell neutral, that make sure that they take away any odor that was there, but they don't add on to some kind of synthetic powdery thing that you don't want in your lungs. And if you can imagine, what about your dogs or cats or animals? They're lower to the ground, frankly. Their feet are touching that floor. And they're smelling. I mean, it's so much more toxic for these little guys or big guys, whatever you have. But it's really, really harmful, let alone if you have plants in your house or if you have, fruits and vegetables on your kitchen counter. I mean, you really have to think about all the particles that dissipate in the space, not just, the actual thing you're cleaning. And I think that's really what drives our fragrance journey more than anything, is making sure that we don't have anything extra that's not needed.
Yeah, and it's but with the products that we see, it's like we are driven by visual and smell. So, you add a color, blue, oh, we think it's clean. You add
Mhm.
a fragrance, let's say lavender or something or lemon. Oh, it's clean, right? And then you're just like, what's really in there? And a lot of times you can look and see, well, there's a lot of water in there. There's some kind of chemical compound to make stuff feel smooth.
Yep.
So you're not really even sure what that is. And then you're just like, I guess it's cleaning. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack in there. I like that we are really educating consumers now so they understand more about when they're reading labels, what to really look for and what actually works. So, with your background, you understood all this, but as we know, even though you understand the science and technology and you understand how products are put together and you have a chemist you can reach out to, every business takes funding.
Oh.
Carol, how did you launch this business?
Crazy, crazy. Well, I have a wonderful partner who already has a warehousing business, and Lisa LeBlanc is my partner, and she has been 30 years in the state of Ohio, really crushing it. She does lots of projects for both government and private sectors that a lot of people just don't want to do. So she makes everything from air compressors to hard hats to all kinds of things. And she just doesn't take no for an answer. So we kind of pooled our resources together and said, let's see how far we can get with this amazing product. And so far, we've been able to self-fund. It hasn't been easy. There are decisions, unfortunately, that you have to make. I think, one of them is probably uh, you can go down a very deep and very expensive rabbit hole in digital marketing. I think that was one of the things. Where do you place your bets? We've made a few little quick errors. I always say rip the Band-Aid off quickly if it's not working. And we wish we had millions and millions of dollars, and you could still would never be enough, to spend on, every social media platform there is. And it's very time consuming too for a mother of three. And she's also a mother of two with a busy business. And so you have to sort of only bite off what you can chew and believe in what you're doing. And that's hard to do because you see others and always comparing your business to other. They're going faster, they're doing this, or they got there first, or they have, beautiful molded packaging or something. And we just had to make decisions. We can't do that yet, so we can't do things yet. That's how we look at things. So, right now we're motoring along. We've proved our concept. And I think another thing that's refreshing about us is that we make a really fun story out of something that seems mundane.
Mhm.
So our packaging is colorful, it's fun, it's, sort of these color blocks, it's very friendly. We put our ingredients, front and center on our packaging. We make it sort of easy to understand. And we have things like Spotify playlists so that you can clean your shower to, soul music, or you can have a country kitchen dance-a-thon or something while you're cleaning your oven, or things that really make cleaning less choreful and more cheerful. was
Well,
kind of
that is that is literally made for TikTok right there because I
yeah,
have seen women on TikTok dancing around and cleaning, and I'm like, I would be one of those, but I'm really more like I like a quiet space. But I'll check out your playlist anyway. But
fun.
since we've been talking about ingredients, your line is vegan, cruelty-free, non-toxic. How important was that to you personally that they be part of what you were developing?
Yes, for the most part, it's hard to find products that have not been tested, frankly, for
Hmm.
performance without testing on animals, for example, or without testing on, these kinds of things. So, sometimes there would be ingredients that we'd have to walk away from because they were a little sketchy where they came from, or, even just down to the raw materials. So you have to be very careful. But unfortunately, sometimes some of those tested products, tried and true, really work. And sometimes they're untraceable, frankly, where the citric acid is actually coming from. You can only go back so many steps to see if you can have it. And maybe 25, 50 years ago, they might have tested it in a certain way, but it works and it's a natural raw ingredient that people, use everywhere nowadays, or is it very widely accepted as safe and delivered safely. So lots of that. Sometimes you have to trust your suppliers all the way down to the raw materials, and you just have to be very vigilant, I should say, about making sure everything is, not hazardous and doesn't contain the dyes and the VOCs and these little things that slip into chemistry without even knowing. On the flip side, there's lots of things that have very scary names that are natural as could be. I mean, people talk about stearic acid and, raw stearic acid is it's caustic, it can kill you. Like, you drink it to your lungs and things, or they use it like to clean out oil wells or what have you. But if you treat it properly, it's very safe to use, and most of our products, or all of our products, basically are generally regarded as safe. It's an FDA designation called GRAS, GRAS, and it means it's generally regarded as safe. So there's no reason that you have to put super cautionary statements on it. I'm not saying you should go drink the stuff or throw it in your eyeballs, but there's very low minimal risks, and that's what was important to us to make it safe to use around children, or to actually have my children help me clean. Um, or, I want my teenager to do the dishes. That would be great. So I give her a headphones, some playlist, and a product that's not toxic and she can use it. So maybe I was just self-fulfilling my own needs there, um, but there are ingredients that sound even harsh or sound like acids or something that's harmful that really it's just chemistry. If you really, and then there's others that you think sound so great are really harmful. So just a little bit of, rolling up the sleeves and going a little bit deeper into the ingredients.
Well, I think you just gave a tip for all the parents listening out there how to get their kids interested in cleaning. Give them a great product and a playlist and let them go wild, right? I think it's
Yes.
important we instill the importance of cleaning at an early age. So, with that said, you did mention earlier about your marketing channels, specifically doing some digital marketing. So, when your products, you had developed them, they were ready to go. What was your first step to start getting some kind of market penetration? Did you go all in with the digital and launch it that way, or were you already talking to retailers?
Yeah, we did our own first. We did our own little website first. Tried to put everything we could even afford on there, every little turn, even if you post a blog, everything, costs money. So you have to sort of decide which is more important than other things to do at a certain time. Keeping it simple, and having the ability to order off of our website in bulk for those small businesses or large businesses who wanted to just order from us. Even getting the product ready for large businesses, or sorry, larger distribution from the very beginning. I mean, everything from the very beginning is, able to be scanned and QR coded, and, everything that a consumer or a retailer would want from the very beginning. Oftentimes I see smaller entrepreneurial brands just sort of make a couple, see what happens, make a couple more, and then all of a sudden, they get this great order, and they're like, oh boy, we got to go back and redo the label and redo. So I think, because of my experience, had a little advantage there. We just started there. We just started ready to go, forever wanted, kind of thing. So, but we did really have to decide, you can't do everything. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. So we doubled down on our own website, our own Instagram, this sort of thing. And then as we can afford it, we keep moving forward. We do now trade shows now that we have a full line to showcase. Instead of just our one product, we have been successful doing trade shows, entering, getting more interest from buyers, distributors, these kinds of things. But it's not easy at first to make those decisions when you're self-funding. So.
It's true. And you know what? The entrepreneur journey takes many forms and many different looks. We all start at different places. You started with this background, which, people could look at me like, well, she already knew what she was doing, but you did learn a lot along the way. So with that said,
Yeah.
now that you are at this point where your product is really getting out there, you're getting some market penetration, definitely upward trending, like what's been the most fulfilling part of this process for you coming from this corporate background to now being your own business owner? What has been the most fulfilling part for you?
Yeah, I think repeat buyers, people who come back for the second time. I hate to, that's so simple, but honestly, you can almost anybody will try anything once, especially if they're given the product, but to see like on Amazon repeat orders from the same customers is really, really rewarding for me because I was like, okay, he's got it or she's got it, or, it makes me feel like it was all worth it, when someone believes in it enough to purchase it twice or three times or what have you. So I think that was probably the biggest smile, I should say, on my face, to really understand. I think we were all excited we're on Amazon Marketplace, also obviously Walmart and some others, and to understand that even the Walmart staff, or I should say buyers, and the Amazon team have been really supportive of the brand because it looks good, it smells good, it works. And we kind of have it all going on. We just need to get out there more. And that's, really next on our journey is to just get out there more. Trade shows, these kinds of next steps. But so far, having a sense of humor and a little patience has paid off. We've needed it. So.
Well, I think you nailed it right there. The level of success, or the marker now for success, is somebody liked it enough to buy it again. I'm going to use that in my own life. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that with me. So with that said, Carol, it has been a joy to talk to you. Before you go, though, please let our listening audience know your website so they can go find out more about you, order some products, see where you're in a local store, because I know I can't wait to try it out. So where can we find you online?
Yes, we're at Amazon, Walmart Marketplace, and arborproducts.com. We'd love to have you.
Right. And arbor is spelled A-R-B.
ARBOUR. It's our kind of clean. Our kind of clean is really what we wanted. An arbor is something that protects everything underneath it. It protects the house, the home, and the family, the plants, and the pets that we have. It also something that grows up from the earth and comes back down in a full cycle. So this protection of an arbor is really our kind of clean, and we're there to protect and clean everything underneath it for our families.
That is so fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It has been a joy to talk to you. I can't wait to see how you grow.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Wild Party Podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit boomtownmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at boomtownmarketing.com and click Get Started.